Three teams that we start the program with today from a brushback perspective that we want to discuss and see what they're going to do. Big market teams and, in the need of doing something for their fan bases. San Francisco is number one. I think the Giants, obviously, lightning in a bottle a couple of years ago. They had a wonderful year. They won 107 games. Unlucky that they had to play the Dodgers in the first round of the playoffs based on the fact the Dodgers had the second best record in the league. It was very unlucky for them. They ended up losing a classic five-gamer, ninth inning hit by Bellinger, so that was a killer. And the Giants kind of went into last year with the same thinking that, we'll mix and match. Three platoon here, platoon there, got a good bullpen. Kapler will wave his magic. We'll do some good things with pinch hitting. All the home runs we hit in 21, we'll do it again in 22. It didn't work out that way. It's hard to replicate that scenario. Throw in the fact they lost the catcher, Posey, who, maybe unexpectedly retired. Belt not the same. Crawford, who had sort of an MVP kind of year there, and the year before was, back to being mortal in 2022 in San Francisco, never really got out of its own way and never were a factor in the NL West pennant race or even in a wild card scenario. And you're talking about a team that plays in a beautiful ballpark that obviously, attendance is a big deal. It's a big market. They were 13th. I'm not sure if it was in the National League, but they were 13th in the sport and attendance, and for that ballpark in that city, that's a no-no. And I think as a result, they understand this year they got to spend some money. It's as simple as that. They got to go out there and they got to spend a fortune. And that's where Aaron Judge comes in. They got to ignite their fan base, which is number one. You got to do that. You got to get them to buy season tickets. And you can't allow the Dodgers in San Diego to run away and hide on a year-in, year-out basis where you sit back and try to figure out if, Darren Ruff and Mike Yastrzemski can get the job done. I know Ruff's not there, but you get the idea. And that can't happen again. So I expect, and Farhan Zaidi has already told us, nobody is going to be out of our range from a financial standpoint. Judge did play baseball, grew up in Fresno, California, was a huge Bonds fan growing up as a kid. So I think that's in play. I would think San Francisco is willing to go in that direction. If the Padres can, obviously sign Machado and Tatis and trade for Soto, and the Dodgers can get Freeman and Betts and, maybe make a run at Judge too and spend fortunes on players, why can't the Giants? So, again, they have to decide what they're going to do with Longoria. They got a $5 million buyout. I'd expect them to buy him out, $13 million contract. They got to figure out what they're going to do with Belt. They got some decisions to make, but they need a star. The Giants need a star they can build their ball club around and obviously, get the fans all pumped up in the Bay Area. Whether they can get Judge remains to be seen. I have been on record. I'm going to continue to say it. Judge would be smart. I don't know what the scenario is with the relationship with the GM, but he'd be smart to go back to the Yankees because the Giants can't guarantee that you're going to be in a pennant race every year. So if I'm Judge, I stay where I am because the Yankees will play meaningful baseball in October, and you cannot say that about San Francisco. Obviously, they got a couple of good pitchers. I'm not sure what they're going to do with Rondon. They got Logan Webb sitting there. They got some pitching, but, the Giants are a team that needs box office most importantly. So we keep an eye on them, number one. The Red Sox are number two in the AL East, and the Red Sox got some problems as well. This is a team and a city that's used to winning. They're not used to being in last place. Obviously, this past year, they really had a lot of trouble with their bullpen. I don't love their starting pitching. They seem to think they can get by with that. They got to figure out what they're going to do with their left side of the infield. But the idea that you're going to make the Red Sox the Tampa Bay Rays of the Northeast, that's just not going to fly in that city. It's as simple as that. I know Bloom's there, the GM from Tampa, and I know that, John Henry and ownership, got a little tired of Dombrowski spending a fortune. Well, Dombrowski was in a World Series again, won another pennant. So maybe at the end of the day, he was right and they were wrong because the Red Sox, last year they were a good team. 2 years ago, ALCS. I get that. But the last year, the Red Sox, they did nothing. They never really got themselves on track. They had a good run there against bad teams, but they couldn't win games in their division. And now they got that left side of the infield they got to concern themselves with. Devers, I guess the Red Sox are in that $212 million range on their initial offering to him. That's what Riley got with the Braves. Devers is going to want more than that. I can tell you that. The Braves have a history of signing players undervalued. The Red Sox are not going to get away with that. And then, of course, Bogarts, who gave them a discount originally. Boris is his agent, Mr. Boris, so you're not going to get that again. You do have Story that can move over to short if you wanted to, but he was very uneven in his first year in Fenway, so he hurt a lot and everything else. So we'll see what the Red Sox do. That's a major issue on the left side of the infield. J.D. Martinez. Red Sox got a lot of issues right now. There's not a great talent base, and they got to spend some money. I mean, the crowd base, the fans there are not pleased that they traded Mookie Betts a couple of years ago. I don't blame them for that because Betts was never going to re-sign. Everybody in the world knows you got to be in a cave if you think that Betts was ever going to re-sign the Red Sox. He wanted out, and so I don't think that was going to be futile anyway. But still, the fan base doesn't think that. They did the Red Sox for cheap, and so as a result, Betts goes to L.A. and these are the Boston Red Sox. This is a huge franchise, probably the top 4 franchises in the sport with the Yankees, Dodgers, and Cubs. Red Sox are right there, playing the historic ballpark. Time to spend some money, and a lot of it. So we shall see what Boston does. They got to start that left side of the infield. I think they need pitching. You know, Eovaldi hurt a lot. Sale we haven't seen in 2 years. Nick Pivetta, really? I think they need big-time pitching, too. We shall see what Boston does, but it's going to start with emptying out the wallets in 2022 in the offseason. That is team number 2. Team number 3 is the Cubs, and, you know, I think we're at the point right now we got to start thinking that maybe 2016 has worn off. Yes, they were good in 17, and they made the playoffs and wild cards and all that, but I think the Cubs now, a couple of bad years in a row, and you got to give them that. You had to give the Cubs a couple of seasons where they sort of regrouped, let a lot of guys go, you know, Baez, Bryant, and how did that work out for the teams that signed him? Bryant never plays. Baez was awful for Detroit. But you have to decide here if you're the Cubs, are you going to play in the big market? And they're not in a division which spends a fortune anyway. They're not in the NL East or the AL East, so they should be a little bit more competitive. But, you know, where do the Cubs, name me a player on that team that is two things. A, I will spend money to go watch play or pitch. And B, that you can build your ball club around. You know, they got some decent pitching, but nobody that you're going to build your rotation around. Where on that roster, unless I'm just missing it, I'm not watching Cub games on a day-in, day-out basis when they win 70 games every year, and they played well for Ross late. You know, they swept the Phillies, they swept the Mets in September, so the manager's done a good job. But where does he have the arsenal to be competitive? Explain. Where is it? And the Cubs, we give them a break. They were very good, 15, 16, 17, made a lot of playoffs, won a championship. They did a good job. So we're not sitting there killing them. But, you know, now 16 is 6-7 years ago. Cubs got to get back and play. So what the Cubs do in this offseason, you know, they built that ballpark, and they make a fortune at Wrigleyville. It's about time that their owner goes out there and plays with the big boys, too. Cubs are a big market team. All right? The Cubs are there with the Mets. Cubs are there with the Yankees. Cubs are a big market team. You know, to win 75 games every year and have a payroll of $160 million. No. So we'll see what the Cubs do. These are 3 franchises that should be good every year. We give the Cubs a little pass because they've been excellent. Giants had a little run, and the Red Sox historically have been good. So we get a stand, but they're coming off all 3 terrible years. And you know what? Their fan bases don't want that again. So we shall see what the ownership does in all 3 spots. The Giants have been on record. We're spending money. They've been on record. Cubs haven't said a word, and the Red Sox have been very, very quiet. We shall see. We'll keep an eye on it all off season. They get mad, so who cares? We're here to help you as fan bases.